find the terrorist in the internet haystack.
Making people very happy.
Thank you.
You ready for a little action?
Oh, this looks juicy. How is this all possible? Think of it as a Google search, except instead of searching only what people make public, we're also looking at everything they don't. Emails, chats, SMS, whatever. Yeah, but which people? The whole kingdom, Snow White.
So that was a look at Oliver Stone's movie Snowden, a real-life political thriller starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt as NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden. For his take on this and other new movies this week, I want to bring in film critic Richard Crouse, who is still awake after seeing a gazillion movies at the Toronto International Film
Festival.
Festival.
Pinching myself to stay awake.
Well, it's about 20 below in the studio. We did that on purpose to keep you awake. All right, so let's talk about Snowden. Big headliner at TIFF. Lots of people talking about this movie.
Yeah, well, if there was ever a movie that's kind of tailor-made for Oliver Stone's sensibilities, this is it. You know, Oliver Stone has never shied away from controversial subjects and never shied away from having a point of view on controversial subjects. So it should come as no surprise, and this isn't a spoiler, he views Edward Snowden as a hero, and he very much takes him on a hero's journey all the way through this film. And whether you agree with that or not, it's an interesting take on the life of Edward Snowden with an interesting performance from Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Again, not a spoiler, but the real Edward Snowden makes a brief appearance at the end of this movie. And when you see the two of them back to back, you realize how closely Joseph Gordon-Levitt nailed it. But it's not just an impression. It really is sort of the essence of the guy. The heart and soul of this movie, though, is Shailene Woodley, who plays Lindsay Mills, who is Edward Snowden's girlfriend in real life. Now, imagine you're living with someone who has the highest security ratings going, and he can't talk about his work. So she has no idea about anything that's going on in his life while all this is happening. So she has a fairly regular life happening with her boyfriend, who happens to have this kind of crazy job. Then all hell breaks loose. Shailene Woodley is so charming in this movie because everything that she does, it seems like it's the first time she's ever done it. She's a completely naturalistic actor. I loved her in this movie, and it really helps to ground this and give you the stakes of this young guy, because he was in his 20s when he did all this, who gave up everything because he felt that he needed to blow the whistle on some things that the NSA was doing. So for me, it's a 4.5-star movie. It also makes me think that I should probably put some tape over the camera on my iPhone, because honestly, that's the message of this movie is all about privacy.
Feeling. All right, interesting. All right, so 4 stars for Snowden. Lots of people waiting a long time for this movie, Bridget Jones' Diary. She's back.
She is back. We haven't seen Renee Zellweger on screen for 6 years. It's been that long, and we haven't seen Bridget Jones in a new film for 10 years. And it's a welcome return. I wasn't honestly very much looking forward to spending time with either of them when I went to see this movie. And I was won over by the movie's wit, by its charm, by its screwball comedy. The story is that Bridget Jones is now 43 years old. She's working for a high-level news television program. She's a producer. And one weekend, she goes off with the host of the show, and the weekend host says, you got to go to this music festival and just have some fun. Find the first man that you see and run off with them. And that's essentially what she does. She meets a handsome American played by Patrick Dempsey. They have a one-night stand. She leaves, never sees him again. Next week, she bumps into the love of her life. Now, he's married, well, except that he's getting a divorce. Mark Darcy, played by Colin Firth, and they have a one-night stand. Cut to 3 months later, she's pregnant and doesn't know who the father is. And then they reunite. The three of them go for the next 6 months, going to prenatal classes and all that kind of stuff, and trying to wait until the baby is born so they can figure out who the father is. It's funny, it's charming, the cast is interesting to watch, they've got good chemistry together. What I liked about this movie, though, is unlike the other two movies, Bridget Jones just isn't looking for a Prince Charming anymore. Bridget Jones has learned to love herself. Bridget Jones is able to raise this child on her own if she wants to. And so it's kind of a girl power movie that has, you know, some interesting performances in it. So for me, it's a 3.5 star film.
You just convinced me to go and see it.
You should
I was
go.
on the
It's
fence,
right.
and now I'm there.
I didn't want to go, and I did, and now I ended up liking it.
And you're the better person for it. Okay, Blair Witch, we've got a few seconds left. Let's talk about this. We all remember the first one.
We all remember the first one. This is the follow-up. So James, the main character of this movie, is the brother of the nostril lady from the first movie. Remember that famous picture of Heather? We were looking up her nose for a good chunk of the time. He thinks that she's still alive out in these haunted woods somewhere, so he puts together a documentary crew. They go looking for them. First hour of this movie, there's a few jump scares, so a loud sound that's supposed to rock you a little bit. The last half hour of this movie, though, I found really scary, and I like horror movies, and I thought I was going to have to leave the theater at one point.
Really?
This movie, I saw it with a room full of critics, and we're the worst people in the world. If something's funny, we don't laugh. We go, well, that was very funny. We don't, we don't do any of that sort of thing. People were talking back to the screen here, screaming at the screen, yelling, yuck, doing that kind of thing. It is a movie in the last half hour that is quite intense and a pretty good little horror flick. So it's a 3.5 out of 5-star movie for me.
Something for everyone
Something
this
for
weekend.
everybody this weekend.
Richard Crouse, hang in there. I know you got a few more movies to see.
I do.
But hang in there. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
Take care.